Hello guys, welcome to Naija Oversimplified. Before we proceed, let me ask you a quick question. Who do you think led the first big anti-colonial protest in Nigeria? Some warrior king or some British trade lawyer? No, it was Nigerian women, market women, aunties in wrappers, and when they moved, the colonial government started shaking. Today, we are talking about the Aba Women's Riot of 1929, or as I like to call it, the day Nigerian women collectively said, "We no go gree." Okay, let's rewind a little bit. It was late 1920s. Britain had taken over a huge chunk of southeastern Nigeria and decided to run it using their indirect rule system, which basically meant they picked some guys called warrant chiefs to boss people around. But here's the problem. In Igbo society, real leadership used to be by consensus. Chiefs weren't meant to be mini dictators, but these warrant chiefs, they were abusing power left, right, and center. Then, as if that wasn't enough wahala, the British started preparing to collect new taxes. Women got suspicious when census officers started counting their property and livestock, and the women were like, "Hold up, you want to tax us now? On top of all this nonsense, God forbid bad thing." The final straw came in November 1929 in a little town called Oloko. A census officer tried to count the goats and chickens of one elderly woman. Now, this auntie was not having it. She basically told him, "So you people want to come and tax us women too?" Thunder fired that idea. Word spread like wildfire. The women called on a women's network, and in Igbo land, those networks were strong. These women did not wait for Twitter or WhatsApp groups. They had pamphlets, songs, coded messages, and within days, thousands of women were mobilizing. So, what did these women actually do? They used a traditional protest style called sitting on a man. Don't get any ideas, it was not romantic. It meant surrounding the house of an offender, singing, dancing, mocking, and basically shaming him until he stepped down. But in 1929, these women leveled it up. They gathered in their thousands. They stormed colonial courts, pulled up to warrant chief compounds, and said, "Oga, pack your load and be going." They burned down court buildings. They freed prisoners from colonial jails. They even went for the trading stores. European companies, especially the United African Company. Basically, they were like, "If you people won't hear word, we will reset the whole system." And remember, this wasn't just one town. We are talking about a movement of across 6,000 square miles from Owerri to Calabar. Tens of thousands of women coordinating without Instagram, TikTok, or WhatsApp. Just serious traditional networking. Now, the British at first underestimated them. They thought, just women making noise. But then the protest kept spreading and colonial officials started panicking. They called in the police and the soldiers. And here's the sad part. In places like Opobo and Apag, when women gathered peacefully, British troops opened fire. Over 50 women were killed and many more were injured. That part of the story is heartbreaking because these weren't rioters with weapons. They were mothers, traders, aunties, farmers, just demanding fairness, and they were met with bullets. After the violence, the British had no choice but to investigate. The Aba Commission of Inquiry was set up and the receipts were plenty. They found out that yes, warrant chiefs were abusing power, and yes, the women's grievances were real. So, some reforms had to follow. The warrant chief system was scrapped in many places. Women's organizations were fully recognized in governance, and British promised not to tax women directly again. So, even though lives were lost, these women changed the system. Their protest forced the colonial government to listen. The Aba Women's Riot wasn't just about tax. It was about respect, about women saying they had political voice, and about fighting corruptions and injustice. And in a way, these women became the OG freedom fighters. They showed that colonial rule could be resisted. They showed that women could lead massive political movements, and they laid the groundwork for future nationalist struggles. Even today, their story inspires movements for justice. Anytime women in Nigeria gather and say, "We no go gree," trust me, the spirit of 1929 is still there. So, next time someone says women can't lead a political change, just remind them of the Aba aunties of 1929. They shook a whole empire. And now, I have to ask, if those women were alive today, what do you think they would do first? Organize a Twitter space or maybe storm Abuja streets? Please, drop your answers in the comment section. And I beg, don't forget to subscribe because more history gist is coming your way soon. Till next time, goodbye.